So I broke my arm. And because of that, playing games and writing about them has been kind of a pain in the butt. So I thought, why not take a break from my regular content and talk about my experience a little bit. But firstly, you're probably wondering what happened, and for that... You know what? Never mind. Now, this all happened about a week before my last video came out, close to the end of February, and at the same time, Guild Wars 2, my favorite game if you didn't know, was gearing up to launch its third expansion, End of Dragons, on the 28th. I'd be damned if I was gonna let a broken arm stop me from playing, so I did the logical thing and started scheming up a solution for the whole single-handedness problem. First of all, this regular mouse had to go, or at least the side of it. When it comes to MMOs, you basically need quick access to all of those hotkeys, even in a game like Guild Wars 2, where the skills are nowhere near as overwhelming as some other games I could name. But yeah, one of these bad boys could be used to play basically any game out there if you program the keys on the side properly. So I set all those up and went to town, only to realize I forgot the movement keys. In Guild Wars 2, you can hold the left and right mouse buttons to move forward, but moving backwards or side to side does require the keyboard. Luckily for me, I had impulse purchased an Elgato Stream Deck pedal a few weeks ago, so I set that up to key in A, S, and D, then hooked up my regular Stream Deck to run the more complicated keybinds, because screw hitting Shift plus F12 with one hand. So yeah, I found a workaround to play Guild Wars 2, and it probably would have worked with any other game as well. And I didn't even have to buy myself one of those fancy Xbox adaptive controllers, although it would go well with my other controller collection. Anyway, before I convince myself to buy an adaptive controller that I won't even need in a few weeks, this is kind of a hassle. Having to set up all these keybinds for every game is a lot of work, not to mention the amount of lag from the Stream Deck pedal that you probably wouldn't notice if you were using it for its intended purpose. But that does get me thinking, what is the alternative? And what makes a game easy to play with only one hand? Well, that last part is pretty straightforward, you know? 2 joysticks doesn't make a lot of sense. What, are you playing with your 2 fingers like this? That disqualifies almost every single console game right off the bat. Yes, including anything you're trying to play with this monstrosity. And yeah, sure, you don't always need both joysticks. Sometimes you don't even need one. I hear ya, mother fans, okay? There are lots of games that just need buttons, and that's cool and all, but what, are you playing with your 2 fingers like this? See, that's the weird thing when it comes to controllers. Almost every game out there needs you using both sides of it, whether it's at the same time or not. Sure, you could just plop it down on the table and play it like this, but I'm already at my desk. What does this solve that a keyboard doesn't? Heck, even this guy has its problems, mostly because it and the mouse are a package deal, So most games expect you to use both at the same time. Not so bad if you have a mouse like this, but we've been over that already. These mice aren't cheap, and setting it up for every game is annoying. At least when you're like me and you play a lot of different games. Realistically, the only good one-handed games are the ones that exclusively use a keyboard or exclusively use the mouse. Don't worry, we'll get to you later. But point-and-click games, right? That's what we're talking about. Pretty much the simplest games out there, depending on how you define simple, I guess. I have seen some wild logic in some of these. But yeah, we're talking not being able to use one arm. You could play almost any point-and-click game with just a couple fingers. Hit me with Putt Putt Saves the Zoo any day, I swear. And that extends to other genres that you might not group in there with point and click. Card games, for example. How often are you switching between the keyboard and mouse for those? Hearthstone is a mobile game. You poke the screen with your finger. Playing on the computer means just dragging digital cardboard into different parts of the screen. They don't even have to be competitive. Games like Cultist Simulator build single-player narratives using these kinds of mechanics in incredibly fascinating ways. If any of these games catch your eye, by the way, or even the genres, come to think of it, let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can do a video about them. And don't forget to like and subscribe so YouTube knows to show this video to other people. Continuing on the theme of narrative, visual novels are also great. Clicking through text options and reading about your favorite vampires or lawyers isn't exactly physically intense. And that follows through for other RPGs as well. Earthbound might be a pain in the butt to play with a controller, but nearly any RPG in a similar style on PC will work just fine, especially if it lets you rebind your keys. You could even probably get away with playing Undertale if you swap out WASD for IJKL to move, and that's not to mention the hundreds of other great options that exist in this genre. Heck, I guess that also shows the viability of using a keyboard when you've only got one hand. I mean, not everyone can type super well with just the one, but that doesn't mean you can't play a simple rhythm game. Friday Night Funkin' only uses 4 keys. Rhythm games like Unbeatable only require 2 most of the time. Outside of all of these genres or formulas, gameplay styles, what have you, there are also tons of games that don't fit into established genres or break the mold in some big way. Pokemon Let's Go is probably the one console RPG I can name that's easy to play with one hand. All you need is a single vertical Joy-Con. None of this big-ass controller business. Yeah, vertical. Who thought the solution would be so easy? And you know what? Some rapid-fire recommendations for you, whether you can only play with one hand or not. Hypnospace Outlaw, an alternate 90s internet moderator simulation. Baba Is You, a cute puzzle game where you make the rules. Papers, Please, a horribly depressing border admissions game. Full motion video games like the crime fiction of Her Story. Honestly, the entire FMV genre is totally underrated. Sure, almost every single AAA game in existence might be precluded from this list because of their reliance on action and 3D graphics, but the options for playing games with just one hand are nearly endless, especially if you get creative with it. That's not something I expected. I think I expected finding something to play and cover would prove to be some sort of massive challenge, but honestly, the options were almost overwhelming, and ironically, I'm some sort of freak of nature who heals way faster than I have any right to, so, this thing can go. Anyway, it's really nice to be able to talk about this sort of thing on the channel, and trying to turn what is basically a channel update into what I hope is an interesting discussion about accessibility is a fun challenge. And I do want to offer some reassurance. Don't worry, I'm fine. I have a high pain tolerance and didn't notice that my arm was broken until the next day. And I'm Canadian, so, you know, hospital bills aren't an issue. I just wanted to thank everyone for sticking around. And if you ever did want to follow along, see how things are going, or maybe have some input on whatever the next video will be, you can find me on Twitter and Discord. Links are in the description. And as always, thanks for watching.